what I wasn't doing is two really important things. I wasn't separating myself from everyone else or building a brand that I could have longevity in. So when I started in real estate in about 2005, I did what almost everyone does. I went after the FSBOs, expireds, and cancels, and it worked right up until I realized that I was basically standing in line as every other agent in the market. And what I mean by that is that those were the strategies that a lot of agents were using. Now, the logic made sense at the time. Those were people who already have signaled. They've raised their hand and said, hey, I'm trying to sell. And that's what I like to call the low-hanging fruit because it takes very little effort to find them. And that's basically where a lot of agents start, just talking to owners that are signaling that they're ready to sell or have at least tried to sell. But what I didn't realize was that I was pulling the exact same list on the exact same day as everybody else. Because as agents, we all have access to basically the same information. So yes, I got good at those conversations, and it's definitely a way to build business and get really good at handling objections. But what I wasn't doing is two really important things. I wasn't separating myself from everyone else or building a brand that I could have longevity in. I also wasn't working to build myself up as a person that served a specific type of customer. I was just another guy racing to get to that lead first. So when you're not building anything for longevity, there's really only one lever you can pull, and that's volume, meaning constantly looking for more leads, more sources, having more ad spend, and just chasing more. And that was a treadmill that I could foresee happening, and if I'm honest, already partially on. And that I also knew I wouldn't enjoy for the long term. So what finally got me off of it is what I want to talk to you about today. I finally got off this idea that I needed more leads, and instead I chose to go narrow, because going narrow, in other words, finding your niche, doesn't just make your business more fun to be in, which of course helps with longevity, but it separates you from the crowd and ends this tireless treadmill that a lot of us are on. That's what I call persona, and it's the first part of MAP, the Midlife Agent Pipeline. Let me explain so you can use it to your advantage. So what I mentioned earlier is this idea of the low-hanging fruit, right? The reason why it's low-hanging fruit is because those, again, are signals, the FSBOs, expireds, cancels. Those are people that are already saying, hey, I'm trying to sell. And in that is giving us a greater chance of earning their business because we know that they're actively trying to sell or at least tried. The problem is those homeowners, those poor homeowners, are getting 17 phone calls a day and 11 different voicemails from the same agents calling the same list over and over. Now, don't get me wrong. In this particular instance, when I'm talking about expireds and cancels, I know agents that are absolute beasts at this niche, and they do really, really well. But that wasn't something I was excited to spend my career on. I just let it serve as an initial springboard at the start of my career. So you see, more leads isn't the answer. Just buying more leads, signing up for a service, paying for a referral company or an online lead source never really allows you to control the narrative around who that person is. And I want you to think about this for a second. You are not in control of who's on the other end of that conversation. Somebody or some service decided that for you. So you can be serving completely different segments of the market with different people that have different needs, but you never become super proficient at serving one. You can have a curious seller on a Monday, a condo buyer on a Tuesday, and an unrealistic seller on a Wednesday. And when you're having these scattered conversations, your skills just don't compound or grow. You're just chasing after the next deal. And again, you're not building a brand, and you're not being known as a very specific problem solver. Wouldn't it be nice to take control over the direction of your business? The whole point you decided to become a real estate entrepreneur in the first place? More leads for the sake of leads is not better. Better, more focused leads are better. And I know that's a hard one because we've been so conditioned as agents to think that more is always better, right? More leads, more sources, and more spend. So we have to recondition our brains around this. You don't want more leads. You want the right leads, the right conversations, the right people that you're best equipped to serve. So if more isn't the answer, then what is? Well, it starts with knowing exactly who you're built to serve. So who is your persona? And it's not a demographic. Think of it as a situation. identifying the person that's in a specific situation, because the situation is what creates motivation and therefore your opportunity. For example, someone going through divorce or an older couple that needs to downsize because their two-story home clearly doesn't make sense anymore, or the person that's going through pre-foreclosure or has liens on their property and is also behind on the real estate taxes. These are all very different personas in very different situations. And identifying which ones you feel you'd be most capable of serving or would enjoy serving, or maybe it's an industry you've been in the past that gives you additional knowledge or insight around, that's how you go about determining your persona. And by the way, I put together a worksheet that walks you through exactly this. It's called Find Your Persona. Pretty obvious. And the link is below in the description. Go ahead and grab that so that when we're done, you can work through it yourself. So the point of all this is just to narrow down who it is you're deciding to serve, right? Because not all real estate transactions are market driven. It's lifestyle or situation driven. And that is going to happen regardless of what the real estate market is doing, what interest rates are doing. There's always people of all walks of life and all different situations that need to move and need to sell. So you need to think to yourself, which kind of sellers that you served in the past do you still think about? Either because you think about that situation fondly, or because you're extra equipped to serve that type of person. Maybe you've been through that situation yourself before, or you've done enough transactions in and around that situation that you understand that person through personal experience. You know which conversations felt super easy when you were dealing with them, when you organically knew what to say and how to serve them. And here's what really gets powerful. Well beyond the idea of working expires and cancels for the simplicity of getting a lead, is that when you commit to serving a certain niche, a certain situation, and you identify your persona, you get much sharper and sharper with every single transaction. You're able to ask better questions. You're going to have better answers to their questions. You're going to be able to rely on real anecdotes as proof that you're proficient in serving that situation. And then that becomes something you just cannot buy. You become known for solving that type of problem. And that's where your own brand building begins. When other people are going through that divorce, or other people are going through pre-foreclosure, or other people need to downsize, you become known for that specialty. It's like anything else, right? It's like going to the gym. The more you push the same heavy weights, the bigger and stronger your muscles are going to get. It's pretty obvious. And that's why I say that the riskiest thing you can do in your real estate business is to try to serve everybody. Because when you serve everybody, you're never the obvious choice for anybody. You look like everyone else and you stay replaceable. And replaceable is the most dangerous thing you can be in real estate. What you're building instead is something very unique, very specific, and very much yours. This is how you not only create opportunity, but you stand out as the person best equipped to help that customer. And that is what gives you longevity in real estate. And again, a few of those questions I just asked you, they're the first few on the worksheet I put together called Find Your Persona. It's a free link. It's in the description. Just go ahead and grab it now, and it'll walk you through how to identify your own persona. Remember, picking your persona doesn't shrink your business. It's the first move that lets you compound and grow it and have success and longevity in your real estate career. If you've got questions about choosing your persona, please make sure to drop them in the comments. I do make sure to answer them all, and it also helps me create future content as well that's going to serve you. And if this is something you want to learn more about and what I'm sharing with all of you makes sense, you may want to consider subscribing, because I'm committed to sharing everything that's worked for me and the agents I've served across the country, so I know it's going to work for you as well. Now, you can pick the right person and still get it completely wrong if you don't understand what they're actually going through. That's the next part of MAP. It's called Problem, and it's the next video right here. Go check that one out, and we'll see you on the next one.